All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Collab Collective. We are redefining the way creatives connect. So, this is being live streamed for the first time, and it is an exciting time because we're basically experimenting with a series of different online formats, such as like interviews and discussions, like today. We'll be looking into interactive workshops. We've had panels in the past, and we'll probably continue to explore that. And also, we want to explore some like hangout, chill parties as well, maybe on Clubhouse or on Discord stage. So this is the so with that we have our very first trial session, which is something very unique. So what you'll be witnessing is basically a live coaching call. So that's kind of the topic for today. And it's my privilege to bring on my very good friend, Tom Chan. So, right. So before I bring him on, I just wanted to let you guys know, I guess the topic for this meeting or this session would be starting before you're ready. You know, there's a saying, like, especially in startups, it's just like, don't wait until everything's perfect. Just like go start before you're ready. So basically with that, I didn't prepare anything for this talk. There's a lot there's a lot of thing going on. You might hear my daughter speak up. So yeah, this is a perfect example of how this concept will play out. Like, didn't have anything ready. I just started, and so I'm also putting myself on the line for this coaching call. So with that, I am gonna bring on Tom. So welcome, Tom.
Thanks, Josh. Very kind words, as always.
Yes. So actually, I didn't really give you too much of a background, but if you can kind of share a little bit of who you are and what you're up to, I guess, also in the space of coaching, which is, I guess, fairly new endeavor for you.
Yep. So I'm, I guess, traditionally a graphic designer. It's been something I've been doing. I think I'm pushing 25 years in the space now, which is a bit frightening, if not a bit more. Um, Graphic designers essentially branch over to UX design at some point. So that was, sort of my experience. 7, 8 years ago now, I guess. And then I had a teaching stint at Red Academy here in Vancouver, where I got the privilege of learning about how I can communicate
Mm.
design thinking to people that might not necessarily think they're creative people and creative types. And then I've also done outside of that consulting, and this week I've started a brand new role at Fresh Prep here in Vancouver. And just before I started doing that, I'm doing this leadership coaching course just to explore the ways that coaching conversations can really elevate people's abilities to problem solve and have better communications with each other.
Okay,
That's
awesome.
kind of the nutshell, I think.
Yes, that's really great. So I guess, yeah, we're gonna use this. We have to end right at 6:15, right? So basically,
But for me, yes, yes.
yeah. So we're kind of already eating into the 45-minute call. So I'm kind of nervous. I'm excited. I really don't know how it's gonna go, but I guess, yeah, if you want to share some caveats on like how the coaching structure goes, it's like non-directive, right?
Yeah, so I mean, this whole sort of, and I'll have to be totally blunt and honest too. Like, this
Mm.
whole concept of life coaching and stuff like that is really, um, it seems a bit highfalutin. I don't know what the word is,
Yeah.
but in terms of, why do I need a coach for my life, or what do I need someone to help me do stuff? I mean, we have coaches for sport, we have coaches for instruments, we have coaches for different things that we do.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to, and I'm just going to use the word life coaching for now, we don't necessarily have that. So I think there's a bit, not a movement away from it, but there's now this concept of leadership coaching and sort of,
Mm.
it's not so much life coaching and trying to make you be more cool. It's more about giving you the tools to be a better communicator, understand your limitations, understand your blind spots, understand what you're capable of, and to remove barriers.
Mm.
Um, even without sort of talking about the coaching space, think about the number of times where you've had an idea in your head, whatever it may be, doesn't matter what realm, if you're a creative or not. And as soon as you verbalize it, you realize it doesn't make sense, or
Mm-hmm.
you try to articulate how you got to that end point and you realize that, that doesn't make sense. And you kind of rewind it back and you're able to untangle an idea type of thing. So the idea of a coach is essentially a thought partner that sort of guides you along that journey of as a soundboard. It's non-directive. So in a coaching session, my goal as a coach is not to give you the answers. It's
Darn.
certainly not. It's the difference between a consultancy type of thing, where essentially, you would pay a consultant, they come in and they give you all the answers, versus a coach whose job and role it is to help you explore the challenges yourself, because ultimately that challenge the best. And as I said, the idea is for it to be non-directive. That's probably the key thing that I would say. So I know that for me, I'm still practicing that. It's a habit of mine and a lot of people to try and problem solve and to quote unquote fix people. People will come with you a problem and they've only got a few minutes. And because you've done that same thing yourself, you'll say, well, you just do it like this, this, and this.
Right.
And that's the answer. Coaching's not about that. And I've seen some of the coaching calls that I've been in with in the course that I'm doing. I'm in the mastery section right now, where they've had the most amazing 2-minute, 5-minute, 7-minute types of conversations to unlock a challenge, just because they were so well versed in partnering the conversation, as opposed to someone coming to me. I give them an answer and they walk away. It's like, well, let's just break down the actual thing that you're trying to solve. And I've seen some really amazingly powerful, vulnerable conversations that really have unlocked people's ability to be creative thinkers.
Well, I hope you don't break me down too hard. Let's talk that up. I might be crying on camera.
No. Ultimately, and I said, and as I transition to a quote unquote coaching session, I'll set it up the same way that I would in every other coaching session. Absolute caveat: I'm still, whatever the belts are. I've done. I'm in the midst of a course now. I'm finishing this part of it in a couple of weeks, and then I'll hopefully have my mastery certification not long after that, and then my international accreditation in October. So I'm still learning, which is great.
Gotcha. Yeah. And honestly, I really appreciate you coming on, because I literally just told you about jumping on this live stream like within an hour ago.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. Thanks for being vulnerable.
Yeah. Fail in public.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess typically these talks are confidential, but I'm just like, publicizing it to all of the universe, but that's okay. I think it'll be fun. So I'm ready to be coached.
All right.
And I guess, I don't know, like we've done this 2 times prior, and I think we really enjoyed it. It really does help. I was saying it helps, although the main approach is non-directive, it does help that you have like a design background, and the things we've talked about is more like design career oriented. So, I don't know. Maybe we can start the talk with just, this topic on like start before you're ready, because, we kind of hear about it all the time in the tech, in the industry. So yeah, I don't know.
All right. So let me, I don't have like a transition or a fancy thing. So,
Sure.
I'm going to transition from,
Okay.
catching up with you, this preamble to a coaching posture, where essentially, the language will be different, the conversation will be different, and I'm here to service you, my coachee. So I said there's no cape, but I just want to have that clear distinction. So
all right, let's do it.
So let's get into it. So just a quick reminder, everything that we speak about, I know this is being live streamed, but everything that we choose to speak about in the next, about
half
an hour or so is confidential. I'm here to service you and talk about whatever topic that you want to speak about. Just a quick spiel about the coaching practice and sort of what I want to bring. I've got my signature presence, which is empowering alchemy. Essentially, I'm trying to help you unlock some of the things that are a barrier to some of your ideas, some of your concerns, whatever it may be. But the idea is that it's non-directive, and I'm not going to be giving you solutions. I'm hoping to help you work through some of the roadblocks that you may have, whatever the topic. So it's not necessarily design related. So with that being said, are you ready to be coached today?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And so what's on your mind? What do you want to talk about today?
Uh, well, I think actually leading up to this live stream, because I knew it was going to be like a series of these things. There is this concept of, or this, like, I had these thoughts of like, oh, I'm like putting myself out there. I'm not really ready yet, but then I've had experience of just like putting myself in uncomfortable situations or not waiting for things to be perfect. Just do it. Um, but yeah, there's definitely like those feelings of hesitation still. Like, oh, like how am I gonna be judged? Um, I I'm fairly like self assured. So but even then, like, yeah, like those feelings just came up, and then I was checking like my motives, like why am I doing this? Um, so all these things, yeah. So it was interesting. So
So,
yeah.
go on. Yeah, so good. So, at the end of this half an hour call, what is it that you want to have clarity on?
Mm, good question. Maybe more of the like a true intent of running these events, these online communities.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that'd be great. Be more authentic in like my motive behind it. Um, yeah, I don't want to run just another like online design community. So if there's a way for me to bring this like authentic space, or it's really coming from myself too, then I know it's genuine. And when I share it with others, hopefully they can get that sense as well.
Yes, just I did forget to mention I'll be taking notes as well, just for me, just to sort of help me propel the session. I typically destroy the notes at the end of it as well. So,
Sounds good.
um, so just for the agreement for this conversation, you want to sort of explore what your true motive is behind putting these talks together,
I guess so. Yeah. Yes.
and some of the words. Well, the words that you used were you wanted to make it unique,
Mm-hmm.
you wanted
Yep.
to make it authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what what do those two words mean? Well, what does authentic mean to you?
Just real, like honest, um, not too like scripted, or just being real. I think just showing up as like yourself, and what's the word? Like there's no what's the word? Oh, I can't. This is tricky because I know people are watching too. So, um, wow, my brain is blanking. But there's no sense of like pretending, or trying to
Yeah.
look good. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Um,
So that's like authentic, and then unique. I just want things to stand out as well, because I think, yeah, for me the last thing I want to do um, is just like create another thing, another commodity or event. I think even as like creatives, we want to put stuff out that's really unique and interesting for people to enjoy. So in the
yeah.
space of like events and stuff like that, I think it'll be really cool. And obviously, a third thing too, third motive is like, I mean, thankfully we're all kind of getting out of this pandemic now and restrictions are being lifted, but like, people are still kind of like stuck in here. So I want to bring in this sense of community, like authentic community, if we can, as best you can, like online, digitally. Um, and yeah, I think there are really different ways and we can explore that. So that's why I want to try different ways, like whether it's like online workshops and things like that. Yeah, I'll stop. I think I'm rambling.
No, I think it. Uh, as I said, I've known I've known you for over a year,
Over a year, yeah.
a while, Um, and you've always struck me as someone that's been quite driven, and it's kind of funny that you're talking about vulnerability before. It doesn't get much more vulnerable in the context of this is pretty unscripted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're trying to find value in what you do. Um, you know, uh, For those that don't know Josh, he is a very, very well. He's very. I don't want to say driven. That doesn't give it the full scope. Um, he's well prepared, well aware of his. I should be talking to you, not the audience. No, but ultimately you are. You're prepared enough to put yourself in a position where you're going to be vulnerable. So it's not like
Oh, thanks.
the stuff that you've done in the past, which is why I know that's why I wanted to be part of this little this little journey as well. Is that like those have been successful, and what makes you think that this will not be was probably what I'm trying to get to. I mean, this is another experimental thing in a long line of ideas, whether or not they be good or bad. So what makes you think and have the hesitation that this may not have the same learnings for you?
I think because like even right now these trial sessions, it is experimental in nature. And like, I've run events in the past with juice labs and things like that, and that was actually my first time like running events actually, in that capacity. And each event was always different, so it was always experimental. So I think there's always this element of like risk of like, what if it doesn't work, or you are experimenting, trying a concept that's like so left field that people don't people don't get it, they don't appreciate it, because I value people's time very much, and I value like time in general. So when they do show up or they commit or they pay for an event, like I want to make sure that it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what's your intention though? Let me get back to
Okay.
what is the, and I have some thoughts on it because I've played personally as a creative person, thought about what my role is when I'm coming up with an idea. But what is your, just to recap, what is your intention with these like this specific session, like what we're doing right now, like this specific medium? What is your intention for this?
This was like, it was like a winging it moment actually. So so there's that.
Yeah.
But I guess the intention also is, I think coaching has helped me. I've done a few sessions before, so I've done some work in that. And it's really helped. So I think to share about it, especially in this context, I've never really like seen it, like, because coaching is usually one-on-one, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really like putting myself on the line in the public arena just to show people who haven't really seen coaching, like kind of what it's like.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Can I just jump in for 1 second?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny when you said, and I wrote down, when you said you were winging it, you smiled. So, this is not.
Maybe that's a little defense mechanism, but yeah.
No, well, is it?
Maybe.
Let's talk about that. No, for me, obviously, when you smile and that sort of,
there's a little delight.
It's like that delight. Giddiness of, oh, okay, I'm prepared, but I don't know what's going to happen. Like,
yeah. I think it is kind of fun. I feel like it's like I'm on the forefront of, even right now with live, like there's this sense that things could go wrong, or like technically or whatever, right? Or I could say something wrong and I can't like go back and edit it and change it.
It's like watching Formula One and it starts raining. It gets extra exciting.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is. So, it's exciting. It's just like, ooh, what's gonna happen next? So I think there's a little bit element of like failure that creates this sense of excitement too.
Yeah.
So I think that's what probably made me smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just just a bit of a window into my brain right now. I'm trying not to be directive, so this is the skill that I'm trying to, for me personally, and it's a great opportunity for me to practice this with people, and is to practice not directing the coach, because right now I could say a bunch of things. If you tried this, you should do that, and that's not my role as a coach. So that's why I'm kind of having a bit of a pause just for me to gather my thoughts.
No worries.
Um, so is it a fear of failure that is sort of what I'm trying to get to? Um, your motives
Oh,
of
yes, yes. Motives behind it. Um, uh, that is definitely an element. I wouldn't say it's a motive, but the fear of failure is in the mix right now because yeah, even leading up to this, um, I got pretty nervous and stuff. So I was like, oh, like who's gonna watch this or other people can just watch and judge and then it'll be I'm just gonna leave this. I don't care. I'll leave it up forever. So it's also like a practice for me to like learn not to get so caught up in people's opinions too.
yep,
So I think that's a good practice. Um, so yeah, I think in terms of fear of failure, like that's kind of in the mix too. But my motive
yeah,
to do this, I think, I love trying new things, so that's like an excuse for me to do it. I love sharing it with like sharing fun. I love creating environments and like experiences, which I think that's why I kind of really fell in love with UX or like XD, right? Experience design.
yep,
Um, and why I like creating like events in general. Like you create this environment, you got like music going on, you got the structure of how like events go, so it flows really nice. So when people come, it's like this full on like journey. And like I don't know what it is, but I really enjoy if I can like plan it out and I can like picture myself enjoying it. I'm like, oh, how much cooler would it be when other people can like more people can enjoy that too.
yeah,
So that's part of my motive in doing this. And then it's like a totally new format, and this is like COVID. This is like the COVID environment, right? It's all digital. So I'm like, okay, how can I like push the envelope of the experience through a digital format?
but is
So
it is it,
yeah.
is it the fear that no one will join you in this space? I'm curious to like what is it
Oh
like
yeah.
ultimately?
Okay.
Is it as you're speaking, sort of, and I'm watching you sort of mull over your thoughts, sort of case of you've talked at one end of like experimenting and playing, and when you experiment and play, by definition, you don't know the outcome. I think that's one of the things I'm trying to learn as a coach.
Mm.
I'm trying to ask a question that I have no idea what the answer is going to be.
Mm. Right. Yes.
And ultimately, if you're experimenting, regardless of how much experience you've walked down that path before, the fun stuff is when you don't know what's going to happen. Like, you may have
Oh.
done something over and over again, but like when you push that edge on the edge of the envelope or whatever metaphor you want to use,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of, that's what I'm saying when you kind of lit up because like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. And you were like, you're almost rubbing your hands in anticipation
Okay.
of that. And it's like, okay, then for you, there's that element of planned. There's a plan, but
Yes.
also you
Yes.
want it to go beyond the plan to see what actually can happen because that's where I think is it. Would that be correct? That's just how I'm sort of
Yep.
experiencing this call right now.
Okay, I got it. I know how to like tie in this whole fear and fear of failure and all that. So um some mentor figures of mine, they've always challenged me to go like to say, um shout out to Laura. Looks like she's watching, so I'm gonna give you a little mention here. So if you have any questions, just drop it in. Anyways, okay, this fear of failure, right? So my mentor figures, they've always said like, don't just plan for something that's like within your control or within your capabilities and skills. Like aim way above and beyond. So it's like aim, like play big game, right? And to me,
Yeah,
actually, because my engineering mindset's very like meticulous, very detailed, very control oriented. It's like it screams against that because it's like that's so irresponsible. Why would you like over promise like you could it'll set you up to maybe under deliver. Uh, so when you kind of aim big and play big game, um, so let's say I can say, hey, I'm starting this new YouTube channel. I aim to have 10,000 subscribers by the end of summer. I think that'd be
Just don't call it the Fire Festival, and you should be
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, right, or like 100,000 subscribers. Okay, that's crazy. 100,000, that'd be really nuts.
Yeah,
um I think I've always been told, like, when you do that, you leave yourself open for the unexpected, and that's when things go crazy. And so I've actually never experienced that, but I've heard and I've seen other friends like go
what do
through
you
that
mean by crazy in a negative or
in a positive
like
way.
in a
In a positive
positive?
way. So
Okay.
yeah, let's say for me, like, what's realistic and like achievable is maybe getting like 100 subscribers, like,
Yep.
for an example, for a metric, right?
Yeah.
But if I don't like aim high, I won't know. And who knows? Maybe like some famous celebrity will catch this video and then will like blow up and be famous or something. Just so something like that. So that's
Yeah.
part of. But there's definitely this fear because like it's beyond my control, and so that fear can cause me to just limit myself, limit my goals. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that's where it ties in. I think it's a natural thing, and I'm trying to like this is me trying to like push myself and practice to like fight against that fear and practice that muscle. So
So,
yeah,
um, have you had a similar um
similar time.
yeah, like this apprehension that you have? Like, I mean, there must be other, and it might not necessarily be, it could be in any realm, but you must have, not you must have you had that same sense of, I'm going to use the word foreboding. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but
Mm,
of like, I don't want to use anxiety. Maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's foreboding, but obviously there's there's where you are now and whatever you've done, and then
mm-hmm.
there's the unknown. And in one hand, as you're talking about, you're kind of excited by it because ultimately that's what you're going to be. That's going to sort of differentiate, this forum, another forum to whatever
Mm-hmm.
other design forums there are to this will be the differentiator for you, is to to create this environment where you don't know what's going to happen.
Mm.
And it kind of, for me, as I listen to this, like, but isn't it like, are there not parallels between the fear of this not working and your fear of um uh fear of not working, but also you need these kind of experiments to see how far you can push it,
Yeah. Um,
because otherwise it's going to be, you know the outcome. So unless you're
mm-hmm.
experimenting, on these situations where you don't know what the outcome is, it's the answer already unless you push it.
Yeah. So I'm definitely trying to put myself out there for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know. I didn't. Was there a question in that? I
No, no,
I might have missed it.
I wasn't rambling. I was just trying to wrap my head around this idea of uh, where this fear of yours is coming from. Because on one hand, it feels like you need that fear to drive, no, not fear, the
Mm.
uncertainty
Mm-hmm.
to help drive the projects, but which is a negative. But at the same time, there's this anticipation of, well, but that's what I want.
Okay. That's
And
a
I don't know if
good.
that's how I'm interpreting it. I don't know if that's correct. So I just want to get your thoughts on.
Yeah, I would say. Well, for me, okay, I'm definitely experiencing fear, and I think it's natural. It comes up when I try something new and I put myself on the line or be vulnerable. I don't think that is the key motivator to do such things. Um, Although it's an opportunity to practice to like guard against it or um, fight against it. So I don't think fear is the main motivator. I think it's more like the experimental, like, ooh, let's see. Um,
Yeah.
I've taken like Strengths Finder before. Have we talked about it before? Do you know what
Uh,
Strengths Finder? It's like a personality test thing.
yep. And
So yeah, one of my like top 5 Strengths Finder like list is our theme is a futurist. So I definitely love to think about like the what if, or like what could we build in the future, or like if we do this, what's that going to be like?
Yeah.
So I think that is what drives me more. Um, Even with my team, like I I have a planning team with Collab Collective, and just this week, actually, no one showed up for the meeting. They just couldn't make it. So then I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna run it. I'm just gonna do it. Just gonna try this thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait. So I guess there's a little bit of like impatience at the same time, but yeah. So
So let me pose this question then. If whatever you're doing, and I know we're talking about this, not necessarily specifically this platform, but is if everything was to be a success, what would that look like for you?
mm,
Like, well, let's not get into the nuts and bolts necessarily, but so you've got you've already sort of spoken about your desire to create a community where people can learn, designers. Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Typically, I don't know, but essentially, you want to create a community where people can share stories, learn, bring in quote unquote experts to
Mm-hmm.
have these forums for discussion. So, if whether it be 6 months, 12 months, whatever it may be, what would success look like
Yeah.
for you to look back and go, okay, this is not necessarily exactly what I wanted, but this feels good that it's got to this place. I'm curious, what does that look like
Okay.
in a future
So
state?
I think I want to solve a few problems or scratch some itches. I guess that's that I've seen in my short stint in this industry. Um, which is basically I think helping people find jobs. I think like the networking space or like the job application. We've covered this in the podcast where like there's a lot of junior designers coming out of like boot camps or just like self learners and things like that, or career changers like myself. And so we don't have a lot of like work experience per se. Um, and so I think it's really hard for like them to network or find people like employers to like just learn about it and stuff like that. Like I feel like they have to go through a lot of hoops. Anyways, I say all that to say if we can help, like, so the tagline, one of the taglines for Collab Collect is redefining the way creatives connect.
Yeah,
So if like we can kind of successfully help people connect, like from employer to juniors or whatever, freelancers, whatever, and just find jobs or gigs in a way
yeah,
that's like supernatural, um, that you don't have to go through the system, right? And it's very human centric. I think that would be a success for sure. So that's one. I have this like kind of big vision, but
yeah,
the big, and I've shared this with you before. I think the big ultimate vision. I don't know if Collab Collective will be the entity or organization that achieves this, but like it's a little cheesy, but I do I do want to make uh, Vancouver and the city a better place. So in terms
yeah,
of like small businesses, so that was one of the main um, like urges or calls to create Collab Collective, because it was born out of the pandemic. Was um, like small businesses were just getting shut down and everything, and it was like really hard, and like wow, what an opportunity for like us digital creatives to go out there. If we can build like a network, we can equip each other, we can help each other out with like skills, refer work to each other. So we have this solid, strong like digital design community that's very like everyone's helping each other out. It's very vibrant, and then you just introduce all these business people or local businesses like to these creatives to create like e-commerce websites, things like that, basically literally saving businesses.
yeah,
um, I think that would be a huge success, so that would be awesome. I don't know how we're going to get there, but I think just starting a community and starting conversations around that is probably the first step. So that would be like that would be a success. So, but you said 6 months, right? About six
Oh
months or
no,
so.
the time frame is just more of what would signify progress or a success of this project. And like even and I'll come back to this in a second. Like how would you define success? Whether or not this is work, and
Right,
that could
right,
be even part of this coaching call. Like at the end of this 30 minutes, what defines success? Have we
right. Okay.
moved? Have we changed your perspective on it? One thing I did want to chat a bit quickly about. You use the word redefining. So how do you? Um, I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
I've got some ideas about, but what does that mean? Like when you say redefining,
yeah.
what does that mean to you?
So I think the current it means like doing it in a new way, right? So the current I don't know if you can hear my daughter.
Yeah,
uh the current way of connecting is like LinkedIn and I guess like typical Zoom meetings, which is, we're pretty limited to that. But I
yep,
think or like career fairs, but even I've been on some of these networking Zoom meetings and it's um like as a participant, you don't really network too much, or you're kind of limited because like let's say there's a 90-minute talk, for majority of it you're just listening, you're not really chatting, and so like how do
yep.
you network and stuff like that? So I want to find ways to change that up. So if do use Zoom, like let's use more breakout rooms. Let's use more. I want to like use Figma. So that those are things I want to like incorporate. Where Figma, you can actually have multiple people design,
Yep.
and then have more fun. Have more fun in a way that like I don't know. That's just different. So yeah, I kind of hope that answers your question. That's the thing. I'm still exploring how to do it, but redefining also like LinkedIn, it can get really spammy.
Yep.
Um, it's great. It's definitely good, but I'm like, how can we make it even better? How can we help people find jobs or connections faster and more naturally? So, yeah.
So I just wanted to sort of go back to our, at the beginning we were talking about you were trying to get more clarity on your motivations for doing
Mm,
this. I
right.
mean, has it become uh,
Aha. I see what you're
clearer
doing.
to you in the conversation we've had in the last 35 minutes in terms of how you describe some of
um,
these situations? I mean, I certainly have some opinions, but I'm sort of holding them to my chest for the time being. But there's a
right.
few things that I've noticed that you've said that they're very relatable and may inform
Okay. Yeah.
some of the things. So I'm just curious, what do you think you've learned about yourself in the last 30 minutes or so that we've been talking?
Mm, I think as I shared with you, because I've had these like big picture goals for a while, like over a year. Um, I just so that hasn't really changed, right? Like just trying to improve the city through like servicing and being of service to small businesses, or like or larger corporations and stuff. Um, but I think the how and the vehicle to use, whether it's in-person events or like online, that I'm still figuring out and changing and experimenting. So so that's so yeah, the larger picture hasn't changed much. Um, Now in this stage now, short term, where I'm trying, what am I trying to do? I think I'm trying to bring variety. I think I'm trying to bring, yeah, that sense of like excitement of like there is enough like structure where it's familiar, but also I want to introduce or inject this sense of like, ooh, what's gonna be next? And when people come, it's they can expect something different or something to try out. I guess to like stretch themselves, to help them grow, expose them to new ways, new formats, expose myself to new ideas, new ways of thinking too.
And you've already used the word that just described the last minute of what
Okay.
you've said.
Okay, so I would love for you to like, I know, like
No,
take off your
the word.
non-directive
No, it's
hat
not.
and tell
No,
me what you think.
you may have missed it, but you've said it multiple times, and um, it's the word experiment. Like it's a
Ah,
combination of if you're redefining something, it's uncharted. It's semi-uncharted
mm-hmm.
because if that's going to be your motivation to create a new way of interacting with other people, obviously if it had been done before, it'd be safe. So what you're trying to do is an
Right.
experiment. Is which you kind of said it, at the beginning of this last little section.
Mm.
So, my observation would be, if I can share it with you,
Mm-hmm.
um, if people buy into the fact, if your intention is to experiment, and people, you get to see a band because they play a certain type of music, and that's what you're expecting to see there.
Mm-hmm.
And if they play something totally different, obviously you might be a bit freaked out. But if they're an experimental rock band that does crazy stuff and crazy shit, and you don't want to see just the greatest hits, that's what you expect. So that's in the intention. So I think for you, with your background and you've been quite upfront with, this is all an experiment
Mm.
in a sandbox that may not contain the experiment itself. And you've already surrounded yourself with some really, really smart people,
Mm.
that will bring, people that want to be part of the experiment and contribute to the experiment, because it's not
Mm.
just necessarily, you're creating the guardrails type of thing, but ultimately,
Sandbox, yeah.
yeah. But if people want to, people that are a loose end or interested, they will want to. Josh is putting together an event. What is it? I don't care. It's an event, but it's an experiment, and you're pushing the edges. So that would be kind of my
I like that.
observation in terms
Thank you.
of, it's not a case of, and this is a bit directive, or a bit more personal feedback. It's not a case of, it's almost a selling feature. What's this got? What's the event that this person's going to put on? Oh, it's been put on by Nike.
Mm.
It's been being put on by, Apple. There's a certain kudos to what that thing is, and the same thing potentially could be with your stuff. Is like, okay, this is an experiment in connecting people, so we're going to
Mm.
try, whatever, Ecamm today.
Mm-hmm.
Next week we're going to try a new one because I don't know. Let's do one over TikTok, see if it works. I don't know if it works.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that rings true for the stuff that you've done, and sort of that would attract people to continue to support you, because obviously, we want to champion what you're doing, because that's your motivation, is to create new ways of connecting people.
Mm. Thank you. I will take that. Yeah, that resonates well with me. Thanks for feeding it back to me.
Yeah, but is that something? When I say, is that something you already knew, or is it just sort of?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to.
But
I
I
don't want to
think
sound
to
like
highlight
grandma
that,
giving you a pep talk, but I think this stuff. Um, I think as you're sharing the stuff with me, it's sort of like, I know the stuff's there. Like, I think the key words for me that are, redefining and experimenting, and you can't redefine stuff without falling over, fucking it up,
mm-hmm.
making mistakes. But the fact that you're doing that people will give you a certain level of, forgiveness, because you're redefining a boundary of a continent.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's going to be a bit messy on the fringes.
Right. And that's the whole point of like UX, right? You got to iterate.
And for you, that's where you get also. That's when you lit up too. When you get excited, like, I don't know, when you go beyond,
Right.
Westeros. What's west of Westeros for those, Game of Thrones fans? I don't know what's there. Okay, well, let's go. And I
Yeah.
think that rings true of the stuff that you've been putting together.
That's
That
great.
that would be kind of my, um,
I'm thinking about Star
summation.
Trek.
And what's that?
Exploring the frontiers of going where
Yeah,
no one's
yeah.
gone before.
The ship's going to be the same, but they're pushing
That's
beyond
right.
what's
That's
not.
right. So I'm looking for a
And
good crew.
yeah,
Yeah.
and in that context, Captain Lowe's got a new ship. Who wants to be on board? Shit, yeah, people will get on board and
Awesome.
learn stuff. So I think that rings true to, the stuff that you're trying to do, and I think it sort of speaks back to your motivations and stuff.
Mm. Yeah, that really helps. Thank you. So I want to be cognizant of time. We got 1 minute left. So
Oh, no, I'll go a few minutes. So yeah, I'm just curious. So, as we kind of close this call, has it been useful for you?
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
It's like you said. I think you heard from me that I've expressed these motivations, but to frame it in the way that's like, oh, highlighting like experiment and redefining. Um, I've never really had it uh, summarized back to me that way. So I think that was helpful.
Yeah.
Because even with the last event group, Juice Labs, like labs is very experimental, and so that's the whole point. So
And I think
yeah.
it sounds like there's a common thread that runs between all these
Mm-hmm.
projects that um, that's something that drives you personally, and obviously that will attract the people around you to be part of that experiment and that drive.
Mm-hmm. I hope so. Yeah.
Cool. So
Awesome.
um,
How do we?
that kind of closes
Is
our
this
session in
is?
terms of the formal coaching session.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for being vulnerable. I'm genuinely excited by where you're going to go to next. So, with that, was there anything else you wanted to ask me before we kind of close the formal session, coaching session?
No, I think that's it. Yeah. Thanks for the clarity. I appreciate it. That's
Thanks,
really good.
Josh.
All right. End
Um,
scene.
and Teen, um,
is
how'd
is
you
this?
how'd you feel about that?
Yeah, that was good. Like, do you want other people to reach out to you to have the same experience as what they just witnessed?
Yeah,
Or
for
yeah,
me, this is an accidental, shameless plug.
yeah.
Yeah, I need to get coaching hours to get my certification. So,
Okay,
um, reach out to Josh, and I'll send you an updated link. My hours are a bit limited right now because I've started working full time, but
okay.
I do enjoy these coaching calls because it's not just about me practicing my skill. I actually get a lot out of the calls, out of the conversations as well too. So
Mm,
whether or not that person be a designer, I'm always learning something about someone else,
okay.
and also helping them unlock some of their roadblocks. So
Hmm.
if people are interested in call, like right now, I'm doing them for free for the next little while. But at some point, as part of the certification, you need to have some sort of exchange. So that could be coffee.
Okay. Could I
Throw a
put up
link,
like a
throw a link at
contact
me. What's that?
for? Can I put up like your email or contact or
Yeah, you could probably for now
try to put it
just
on the
email
screen?
me Tom
Yeah.
at Sabotage Creative, um, and then we can hopefully find a time. I know my
Gotcha.
Calendly is set up as well, but yeah, probably best just to email
Okay.
me and we can go from there.
Sabotagecreative.com.
Yep.
.ca.com. Okay.
.com. .com.
Let's see here. I am gonna put it up.
But yeah, just in closing, yeah, there's a big um, opportunity to bring coaching into um, organizations to help people have ongoing, continuing personal development.
Mm.
I know that the some of my classmates have already been using coaching at their work with super super um, responsiveness from their staff. I mean, rather than imagine having in a situation rather than having a quarterly or annual performance review, you have coaching calls on a consistent basis.
Mm.
Literally half an hour every week to shoot the shit on whatever is blocking you. And coaching sort of provides that place, that confidential place to have that conversation, and it can sort of just unburden you, even if it's just sort of letting someone know that you're struggling with something.
Right. Um, do you think you'll be continuing like this type of practice going forward, or how do you see it like incorporating it into like your
Oh,
design or your career?
for me, it's not a case of I'm incorporating into every conversation I have, and
Okay.
I say that without trying to sell a Ponzi scheme of coaching. Um, it's taught me to be a better listener.
Right.
It's taught me the power of having a different type of conversation. So in a coaching conversation, the posture I take is totally different. I'm applying a process to help that person unlock the solutions themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's different to um, a consultant conversation where I'm problem solving. I'm basically going in there with my ideas. So
Mm.
um, there's certainly a lot of value in having someone or a place to partner in a conversation that is, once again, that is confidential, and it just allows people to work through some of the challenges, big and small. And it's been quite powerful in my day-to-day conversations with
Mm.
people that I'm not quote unquote coaching. It's just making me a better and more aware participant in dialogue.
Do you think it'll really help like up your game in terms of like design thinking and even like I don't know if you've done a lot of strategy work, but like even like strategy?
Um, yeah, I mean, ultimately, and I said this to um, as part of my my Slack message to my new team at Fresh Prep, to the company. I said,
Mm.
look, I don't know the answers, but my goal is to ask better questions.
Mm.
So people might come to me for stuff that's like, I may have the answers, sure, but ultimately that person is working with that project or that thing, and by me having a better understanding and being more present in the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
I can actually um, help them solve that problem themselves. And it goes back to what I was saying
Mm.
earlier. Once you vocalize something, it's that you just or you try to
Mm-hmm.
explain something to someone, you realize it doesn't work in your head without them even doing anything.
Right.
And that happened to every single one of us all the time. It's like, oh, I was thinking about this, and then actually now that you mention it, it doesn't work. And you just walk away, and the other person's done nothing. All they've done
Mm-hmm.
is stood there and said, yeah, come in. What's on your mind?
Mm.
And it just takes that environment of having someone that's available to help you mull over something. Um, and as I said, some of the coaching calls I've seen are as short as like 5 minutes, and I've seen them just break down this huge thing into, yeah, you're right, and then just walk out, and it's like, okay, well that was a 5 minute thing that just unblocked a whole bunch of other stuff,
Right.
um, just because there's that venue for it. So
Yeah, I think um there's such an art in asking the right questions. It
yeah,
really because I think questions draw out particular answers, right? And so I
yeah,
guess the quality of your questions will lead to the quality of the answers. So
yeah,
I think yeah.
and for people that are watching this video, or I don't know if Josh, you watch this back, the times when you were grinding the gears, when you were trying to think of the answer in your head, like that for me is a sign that I've asked a good question,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, I hadn't thought of it like that, and then the coachie's just sitting there,
Mm.
and I just let them grind away, because ultimately their solution is in within their sphere of control,
Right.
and that for me is a good sign that I've asked something that they hadn't thought of, or brought a new perspective to something that can give them a bit of clarity on something.
Mm. Yeah, like I could see that being applied to like survey questions for sure, and then as well as interviews too, right? Because
Yep.
if you're trying to collect like qualitative data, you really have to frame the questions carefully.
Yep.
Um, and I think that really like makes or breaks, or it highly influences the data that your design is dependent on, right? Because that's like what you work with.
And it
So
goes back to the non-directive directive question. Like, I can ask you a loaded question,
right,
wanting to know the answer from you based on what I want you to tell me,
yeah, mm-hmm.
as opposed to, no, I need to ask questions that I have no idea what the answer is.
Mm.
Josh,
Okay,
what does success look like? I have no idea what that looks like. It's up to you to come up with the
yeah,
answer, and then that will sort of help you create, or help the coachee create, new connections to, oh, okay, I've never thought of it like that. It's like, well, that's great. That's the whole purpose of this type of conversation, to
mm.
reframe the problem so that they can find a way out, a different way, another solution, whatever it may be.
Gotcha, awesome. That's a perfect way to wrap it up. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Josh. Thank you.
So for those who are watching, I got a shout out to Laura if you're still on there. Thanks for being part of this. But yeah, for those who are watching on the replay, if you did find value, um, I gotta get used to these. Like, give us a like button, subscribe. But if it did give you value, just yeah, please smash the like. Add comments. It'd be interesting to see what you think. And if you're interested to like maybe have a little bit of coaching experience, reach out to Tom, or he can share more about the whole experience. So, all right. So, I guess we could end with some music, and then we'll wrap it up. Thanks, Tom. Really
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Josh. Appreciate you being vulnerable, buddy.
All right.
Bye bye.
See you, everyone. Have a good day.